για να μιλήσεις.
Ναι. So, hello everyone, and welcome to this last session of our conference. In this session, we have 7 presentations. Actually, according to the program, there are 6, but the one more is added from the previous session. And last but not least, we have a keynote speech by Dr. Pekak Zamani from RC Greater Atlanta in the USA. So thank you. And now you are going to see the presentations, the first one.
Good afternoon to you all, and thank you for having me. My paper, it's called The Macroethical Point of View on Environmental Policies, and I will start right away saying that it is beyond any doubt that having defined the human species as dominant, we have been led to severe environmental disasters. Thus, the ethical attitude and the way it should be formed evolves as the supreme issue of philosophical research, taking into account in decision-making concerning irreversible human behaviors. It should also be considered as undoubtable the fact that human moral sensitivity concerns all living creatures. It should be understood that the effects of our actions affect not only the human species, but also all living creatures in general. It should also be noted that it is not just about living creatures of the present, but also of the future, since they will be influenced by current practices as well. To accept the ethical attitude of all living creatures, we need to adopt a bio-centered behavior, which requires a re-examination of the relationship between human and nature. Nature does not exist simply to be used or consumed by man. The human species is part of the many that have evolved in the ecosystem. Consequently, all species have intrinsic value. Having said the above, defining the present human-centered era does not mean that we blame the entire humanity for the permanent interventions on Earth. All humans have made interventions on the planet, but not in the same way and certainly not at the same rate. The Capitalocene, as a new philosophical term, reinforces the notion that the richest people in richer societies are the main cause of rapid global climate change, thus highlighting the strong inequality resulting from socio-political and economic processes. Jason Moore, who introduced the term Capitalocene, argues that capitalism and not industrialization caused the transformation of the earth by causing enormous social inequalities, which supported strong strategies of world conquest, endless commercialization, and relentless production. In the book The Shock of the Anthropocene, historians Christophe Bonnet and Jean-Baptiste Fresot go further, emphasizing indifference to politics and arguing that the elites are responsible for damage to the environment, hiding from public opinion the consequences of their actions. In 2013, philosopher Donna Haraway introduced the term Capitalocene. For Haraway and a host of scholars at humanities and social sciences, the focus of the Anthropocene on man is a problem in itself. The definition of a period under human control does not allow the formation of more complex social and ecological processes, in which non-human actors possess equal key roles. By the term Capitalocene, Haraway refers to Cthulhu, the mythical, cosmic, complex god, to symbolize the impenetrable involvement and interconnection of what appears to be individual beings. For Haraway, individuality is just an illusion. If we want to achieve multi-level ecology, that means practicing the best care of interconnected species and not one species at a time. Finally, Haraway points out that during the period of Capitalocene, on the one hand, we discuss a biological, cultural, and political, and of course technological recovery and reconstruction, and on the other, we mourn the effects of irreversible losses, such as extinct species. Is the Anthropocene era human type an environmental disaster and the end of humanity? Alternatively, could there be a good Anthropocene in which both men as well as nature could grow together into one long-term form. From a scientific point of view, the term Anthropocene does not give neither a positive or a negative sign. It's clearly approached as an observational reality. However, it should be made clear that the Anthropocene period is still in progress. With positive or negative results, the Anthropocentrism remains an evolving reality which is formed based on current and future actions of people. Humankind may learn to thrive without destroying the planet. Anthropocene invites us to think beyond our individual lives, to imagine the functions of an entire planet and its changes in schedules from beginning to end. It enables us to understand that people is a force of nature. Nevertheless, there is still time to shape a future in which human and the environment thrive for millennia. There is still a chance for each of us to write a better future. Among the philosophers, Plato was one of the first to know about soil erosion and deforestation, but was rather superficial with these developments, as was his student Aristotle, who did in meteorology depict nature as permanent and essentially unchanged. In the whole of ancient Greek philosophical thought for nature, we encounter strong elements of anthropocentrism. Aristotle, based on his teleological view, believed that everything has a purpose or an end. And that is why they were initially formed with the ultimate goal of all things being service to the human species. In the 19th century, scholars such as George Perkins Marsh in his book Man and Nature stood out nature as very vulnerable to human activity and at the same time human life vulnerable to nature and its changes. In 1973, Arness in The Shallow and the Deep, Long-Range Ecology Movement, presents a new species of ecological movement. The shallow species is concerned with the human interests on the next 50 years or so, with particular emphasis on those of the people of developed countries. On the other hand, the deep species, or deep ecology, while dealing with the wellness of the people of developed countries, deepens the long-term future and interacts with non-human species, affirming their equal right to live and to bloom, the equal right of all species to live their own way of life. Biospheric ecologization, that is called. For itself, the central value is the self-realization or the fulfillment of the possibilities of the organizations of any kind. The philosophical view around ecology also includes some controversial claims, including personal identity. For Ness, the true self is not limited to the physical body, but extends to the whole spectrum of nature, since everything is interconnected. Mentioned that features such as the respect, admiration, and desire of our successors to appreciate the same things as us are necessary. Nevertheless, it should be noted that it supported a significant reduction in the human population for continuous flowering of other species, which makes us respond carefully and selectively to the values developed in deep ecology. An additional essay with a significant contribution to formulation of ethics regarding the environment was entitled Is There an Ecological Ethic? By Holmes Roulston III. For Roulston, human life is especially precious and highly dependent on recycling. Although a specific approach makes recycling a matter of defending human interests, a preferred solution promotes ecosystem integrity as an intrinsic value. What should concern us is whether and to what extent future interests are taken into account. What is the future impact of our actions and whether we should consider these results? The effects of modern technology are often predictable and it would be irresponsible to use it ignoring the result it brings. Hans Jonas, a leading theorist and lecturer on modern technological and ecological macroethics, in his essay The Principle of Responsibility, argued that the recently expanded impact scale of human behavior in the future requires reshaping of our perception of ethics itself. Hans Jonas considers all previous ethical approaches historically outdated, ontologically unfounded, and therefore practically inapplicable. For this reason, he had to propose a new ethical system where the moral deon, due, and good are based on being, that is, the biological existence of human. In the principle of responsibility, Hans Jonas argues that nowadays the gap between our inadequate ability to predict and our ability to do has narrowed, created an unprecedented moral problem. Does man have the right, through his powerful technology, to destroy the biosphere that enables him to exist as a human being? Modern man has a very lack of understanding considering the changes brought about in his life and his environment caused by the application of new technologies, which he adopts both willingly and recklessly. This is an obvious visual impairment, a kind of technological myopia with very serious consequences for both himself and his environment. Like the myopic, people can recognize quite well only what is in front of their eyes, while they see in a vague and completely distorted way what is happening at some distance. Although being alone from medical pathology, the transfer of technological myopia as a peculiar, massive, and timeless human mental phenomenon allows us to shed light on the absurd but stubborn refusal of so many people to recognize and even less to accept man-made causes as the already visible ecological disasters and climate change. No religion, no philosophy, no ethical theory of the past has ever been confronted with the visible prospect of a planetary ecological catastrophe or with the repeatedly confirmed threat of widespread and irreversible biosphere damage, not because of a major natural disaster such as a satellite approaching or falling to Earth or constant earthquakes, or unpredictable climate change, but due to ignorance or even worse, the unforgiving negligence of people when using their technology. Both Aristotle's ancient Greek wisdom and Kant's moral categorical command referred to individual actions or collective human behaviors rather than to man's relation to the inanimate material objects of ecosystems or to other inferior living beings. For Jonas, on the other hand, the impressive developments of the last 2 centuries in technology, and especially the unprecedented technical possibilities acquired by the human species, now require not only a radical overhaul, but also an extension of the concept of ethical responsibility of human beings both to life and to terrestrial planetary systems that allow different forms to exist and survive. Here is how Jonas himself formulates the ethical command of responsibility as a variation of the Kantian categorical imperative. Act so that the consequences of your actions are compatible with the constant preservation of authentic human life. However, how do we know if or when our actions endanger or threaten some form of life? The method he advocates is the now famous heuristic of fear. This methodological choice is based on the repeatedly confirmed fact that people pay much more attention to what seriously threatens them and therefore to what causes them fear. So, they react much faster and more effectively to evil than if they were facing something less painful and less frightening. The explanation for this behavior, according to Jonas, is that is how we are made to react to our biological evolution. We know the stakes only when we know that something is at stake. If Jonas is right, then our only hope for tackling planetary deregulation, which we ourselves have caused and is seriously threatening our future, is to feel in time and be quite afraid of the impending catastrophe. By understanding how we should act and manage destructive nature at the core of creation, we will be able to approach and evolve our critique look, which is not directly related to the rules of ethics. Rather, it has to do with the idea, the construction practices of the past and the present, their normalized operation services, systems, etc., which are part of the cultural life and the irresponsible actions that waste in general. By observing and acknowledging the positive or non-positive effects of what has been said, we are obliged to put aside any economic and political forces and to bring to light their potential. To rephrase what is so crucial to human future, we cannot base on restoring what has already been destroyed. However, many forces can be removed to avoid further disaster. Likewise, it is also possible for them to recover, recreate, and invent numerous promoters of material, intangible, and cultural support. The ethics of closeness, adapted more easily to the established in the here and now moral agents, must come to an end. The ethical project is the creation of a completely new kind of ethics, adapted to the new data of an infinitely long space and time potential impact of current ethical choices and actions. The mental tools proposed in this direction are the principle of uncertainty and the heuristic of fear, as defined by Jonas. According to these principles, we mean to repeat the practical rule that might offer the philosophical solution, if there is at some point the correspondent social and political will to make this choice of life and sustainability. Act so that your actions and their consequences are compatible with the preservation of genuine human life. The command is simple and pure. The difficulty lies perhaps in the definition of the genuine human life versus survival at all costs. Inner dignity and responsibility for the other can make the difference between biological life and decent, ethically speaking, life, and can prepare the ground for the power of the new vision of humanity. Possibly, our ethical defense is enclosed in the macro-moral extension of responsibility for the other. In any case, the common denominator for both is the treaty of justice as the source qualitative future of human existence opposed to universal catastrophe, the avoidance of which does not provide any guarantee for the future. The concept of justice must permeate the way of thinking of the postmodern man, recognizing new ethical criteria in location of outdated spatial and temporal continuities. In addition, of course, the fair way of thinking should be based on the concept of responsibility towards significant others. The concept of responsibility, as mentioned earlier, is not about the ordinary notion of responsibility in which we are accountable for our actions, but the essential meaning in which everyone is responsible for their own well-being and also the prosperity of the close and distant others, sharing a mutual fundamental obligation to treat others with dignity and respect. This type of liability extends beyond and above the neighbor, the near other, with whom we share intimacy in everyday life. The responsibility to be complete and to be occupied by modern spirit must embrace the spectrum of the distant other as well as the spectrum of the non-human world nature as a significant other. If we were to follow an ethical code, the modern philosophy's simple suggestion would not be a bad idea. Since any other scientific idea so far did not succeed, maybe the time has come to give philosophy a chance. Thank you very much for your attention.
Good morning, dear friends. Welcome to the first international conference, virtual conference regarding teaching and learning for building a sustainable and just society. I'm going to share my presentation now, so just a moment, please. I'm going to present you a study work regarding the transformation of school culture through education for sustainability and educational action research. UNESCO focuses its interest on the concept of school community and values related to it, such as democracy and respect for different expressions of view. Yarako and Flogaiti argue that the dominant approach of education for sustainability focuses on respect, democracy, and sense of justice. In any case, education for sustainability should not function as a mechanism for imposing ideas, opinions, and values, but as a collective effort of participatory planning. Trikaliti argues that the school, which work on the values of education for sustainability as a community, it is based on the communication and cooperation of all the members of the school, community, and in everyone's school life, it gives opportunities to everyone, students, teachers, administration members, parents, and local community to deal with the school issues in a team spirit. Such a school promotes collective culture and forms active and creative citizens. But there are difficulties in the field of education for sustainability. Nowadays, in our schools, there is a fragmentation of actions into teaching subjects or scientific fields that are studied separately by classes. There is no interdisciplinarity and functional interconnection of knowledge. There is no a whole vision of the school as a community, so that to ensure the continuity of some projects. As soon as a project finishes, the interest on the subject of the project also ceases. We see also a contradiction in the official educational policy. On one hand, we have rhetoric regarding democratic schools, but on the other hand, we have individualism and antagonism, since the goal seems to be the alignment of the school with business-based philosophy principles. It is also important that the school itself is a field of research, of planning and action. Such a philosophy greatly contributes to the improvement of the whole school culture, so that the school would be able to meet the today's needs itself and broadly the needs of the society. This need leads to educational action research, which is able to be implemented only in an open school with mutual trust among teachers who would work on a collective way, building a participatory school culture. As Katsaru argues, the teachers ought, through educational action research, to work towards the achievement of a social transformation in their schools, raising their voice against the policies that they consider inadequate by an educational or moral point of view. Now we will see our case study of an action or educational action research. So, since 2010, I was working as deputy director in the School of European Education in Heraklion. I recorded some misfunctions, and in 2014, I tried to implement an action research to address these misfunctions. I noticed that the teachers functioned just in their own classes, avoiding to broaden their views towards the wider school community, or even more the wider local community. It was obvious and intense the distance of communication and cooperation between the students of the two language sections, Greek and English, but also between the teachers who taught in them. We follow the model, the research model of chemists. As we see, we start from plan and then we implement action, and then we had reflection, and so on as cycles. The participants were 4 teachers, not 4 teachers, 3 teachers, and me participated, and we investigated, among other research questions, the impact of their participation in the education for sustainability on their perception for their role in the school's transformation. We implemented an urban environmental education project. So the participants are me as the research coordinator and 3 teachers, coded E1, the physical education teacher, E2, English class teacher, and E3, Greek class teacher. The 3 main research tools that we implemented to collect research data were the following. The participatory observation journals of the teachers, in which they recorded their observations and thoughts throughout this research. The reflection discussions between them, which took place in about every 2 weeks, and the semi-structured questionnaires in which they were asked to answer at the end of an education for sustainability project. All the above data were analyzed by the method of thematic analysis. Now we will present the results, some results of semi-structured questionnaire. Regarding the impact of teachers' participation in Education for Sustainability project through educational action research on their experiences. The question was, describe your personal experience from the implementation of the educational intervention in the context of the specific Education for Sustainability project through action research. Knowledge, opinions, thoughts, impression, feelings, and attitudes before and after the implementation of the project. We found a change of their attitudes towards education for sustainability and educational action research. Also, we found an overcoming their initial hesitations regarding education for sustainability and educational action research. They judged that the procedure of reflection was very important as it concluded to adjustment of the action plan according to the new data that emerged. I will read some characteristic passages of their answers. I thought it would give us the opportunity to work differently, to engage in interesting activities with students and our colleagues in the school. And that's exactly what happened. It was a great experience on all levels. The research method or pedagogical approaches, the development of the project and the results confirmed my initial assessments and exceeded my expectations. Another one, it was an eye-opening experience for me to watch the program come alive and to be fully involved in all aspects of it. Regarding the impact of teacher participation in Educational for a Sustainability project and educational action research process on their professional self-esteem and their professional development. The question was stated as following. Do you think that your participation in the educational Education for Sustainability project through action research affected the image you have for yourself in relation to your role in the existing professional context, opportunities for professional development, redefinition of roles, etc. We found awareness of their ignorance and implementation of alternative educational tools, redefinition of their role as educators and as active members of the school community, awareness of their obligation for continuous training in new teaching and research methods, adoption by experiential way of new educational approaches, and teaching new fields such education for sustainability. Decision for further efforts in order to overcome the traditional ways of teaching that they applied until then, opening new horizons in the professional fields. Some characteristic passages are the following. This project made me redefine my role as an educator, but also as an active member of the educational community, having the aim of continuous training and information regarding new methods of teaching and research. I really like the methods of working, and I will pursue similar collaborations as my participation gave me satisfaction and opened new horizons for me. Regarding the impact of teachers' participation in Education for Sustainability project through educational action research process on their collaboration context. The question was stated as following. On the way of the research project, do you think that there was an improvement in the relations between the teachers who participated? If yes, how would you describe it? We found a creation of team spirit among them, pleasant communication atmosphere between them and behind the skin, consolidation of their relations, improvement even after the completion of the project, feeling of pride based on the acquisition of the ability to work in a team way, opportunity to get to know each other better, understanding each other's strengths and weaknesses for a more effective cooperation between them as a team, acquisition of a sense of respect and administration for each one of her colleagues. And I will read some characteristic passages. Over the course of the program, I gained a great deal of respect and administration for each other, not only as professionals, but as individuals as well. However, on the process of the activities, implementation, and the discussion that followed, there were opportunities to get to know each other better, to learn more from the experience of our partners, to learn more about the interests and the way of thinking of each of us, to exchange ideas and became more creative through the interaction between us, the team tides. Our results in the study, we found that the teachers had great resistances to change their practices, as they had already their implicit theories. We found that the teachers theoretically seems to support some changes in their teaching practices, but in practice it was shown how difficult it was for them to change practices of years and to apply innovative practices that were also related to the principles of education for sustainability. As Katsaru argues, a change either in teachers' practices or in the school culture more broadly is very difficult to happen since teachers tend to show strong resistance to any change. Also, we found that a framework of cooperation and communication between teachers was formed during their participation, in which the feeling of freedom of expression was strengthened, since there were more opportunities for interaction and creative dialogue between them. Within this context, the teachers who participated, as well as me as researcher and facilitator, recognized the possibilities of professional development given to them through their participation. As Katsaru points out, one of the characteristics of educational action research is to enhance the professional development of teachers, trying to understand and at the same time improve their practices. Teachers are developed professionally. Regarding their theories and practices, we should point out that the teachers who participated in the project were implemented during our educational intervention, faced many difficulties to change both their personal theories and mainly their practices. But of course, there were a lot of difficulties. Bubura argues that the participation of a teacher in an educational action research although it is a real innovation for educational issues in the Greek school, does not cease to involve difficulties and limitations in the effort to implement it, since the teachers must implement specific syllabus with clear specifications. Bubura also argues that significant difficulties come mainly from practical problems faced by the teachers, such as time limitations, reduced mental reserves, and insecurity about their abilities and their effective response to a simultaneously dual role, teacher and researcher. Furthermore, as Katsaru argues, the relationships between teachers are not at all an easy task, since they should be transformed from vertical to horizontal. According to Stern and Hellquist, in order to transform the relationships of the participants from vertical to horizontal, the key is the trust. Thus, when the trust between the participants is achieved, the cooperation between them becomes equal and effective, since they feel free to share in inner thoughts and talk openly. Such relationships between the teachers in a school without vertical hierarchy lead to the development of an open and democratic climate of cooperation in the school, are essential conditions for strengthening their role and their professional development. You could see some relevant references, and to the end, I would like to thank you for your attention. Thank you very much.
Good afternoon, I am Dimitris Kodzos and I am going to present you our paper entitled Integrating Citizen Science into Environmental Education for Sustainability, Design and Implementation of an Online Training Course to Foster Participation in Building Sustainable and Just Societies through School Education. This paper has been made collaboratively with Maria Dascolia and Nadia Grilia. We three are from the Environmental Education Lab of the National and Capodistria University of Athens, as well as Jaume Piera and Karen Soacha, who are from the Institute of Marine Science of the Spanish Research Council. In our presentation, we're going to talk about synergies between citizen science and environmental education. We're going to discuss about the framework of principles and practices for the integration of citizen science into school-based environmental education, the design of and implementation of an online teacher training course entitled Citizen Science and Environmental Education for Sustainability, the outline of the methodological design and the different levels of our evaluation, and finally, the findings of an evaluative study. Citizen science includes activities and practices in scientific research processes within citizen participation in various levels, like the ones that appear on the current screen. Some definitions of citizen science. It offers new means and opportunities to collect different kinds of data that contribute to science, monitor progress towards sustainability, and inform environmental governance. It serves a wide range of objectives, often simultaneously, from promoting scientific activity and knowledge to enhancing scientific literacy and research skills, up to encouraging democratic engagement and participation and enabling citizens to participate in advocacy for environmentally more sustainable and just societies. It is scientific work undertaken by individuals, citizens, from the general public, usually under the coordination of formal scientists and/or scientific institutions, often with the support of other community stakeholders. Citizen observatories are research infrastructures which support the development of citizen science projects, enhance observational and monitoring competencies in situ, enable bidirectional flow of data and information, achieve and assess the 17 Sustainable Development Goals. Some intrinsic links between education, learning, and citizen science. Citizen science is about education, environmental protection, public policy issues, learning outcomes beyond the acquisition of content, knowledge, and skills, fostering of global citizenship, environmental stewardship, and community empowerment, whereas environmental education is about fostering democratic participation of young people for a more sustainable future, changes in the environment and society, in individuals, in education, holistic reform of teaching, individual or collective inquiry, and learning development of key scientific concepts, content, knowledge, and skills. Integrating citizen science into environmental education is a necessity because incorporation into school curricula is a more comprehensive and critical stance towards current social, economic, and environmental reality, as well as a new paradigm of collective practice actively promoting sustainability justice on the basis of the 4 pillars of sustainable development. Cause for Cloud, that is co-design citizen observatories for the European Open Science Cloud, is a European Horizon 2020 project that aims to enhance citizen science technologies. Services are co-designed with key stakeholders and tested with end users to help improve interoperability, networking, data quality, and secure management of data. 15 European and international partners and 10 citizen observatories participate in the project. And for Greece, it participates the Environmental Education Lab of the National Capedestrian University of Athens under the direction of Maria Daskolya, who is an associate professor in the Department of Educational Studies. NKUA aimed at the design and enactment of learning situations through the establishment of an educational network, the development of teacher training schemes and resources, and the design and implementation of a range of educational projects and activities in schools. The Course for Cloud strategy for integrating citizen science into school environmental education includes innovative and challenging projects in schools, teachers training, partnerships between local stakeholders and the school system, new concepts and tools to assess competencies and learning outcomes, co-design and co-creation of learning situations. NKUA's contribution to the project is the following general design model, drawing on the following tenets. First, that both citizen science education are integral to the very idea of open science and contribute to its practice. Second, that citizen science shares a lot of common ideas and practices with environmental education, which, if coupled with pedagogically appropriate uses of the project's technologies, it may lead to an emerging paradigm of educational practice. This is an outline of the actions that have been designed and implemented during the first 2 years of the project. They comprise the delivery of an online training course, the development of a set of training resources, the setup of an educational network, and the co-design of 6 educational scenarios, and an implementation of a number of case studies of citizen science in Greek primary and secondary schools. The online teacher training course aimed at the introduction to citizen science practice, the familiarization of participants with innovative educational activities in their schools, and the training in the collaborative design of educational projects. We had 22 participants engaged in asynchronous and synchronous activities, and finally in the collaborative design of 6 educational scenarios. Participants worked in groups and developed these 6 educational scenarios in which citizen observatories like PlantNet, Odor Collect, and Natosfera were used in innovative educational activities. As regards the evaluation of our training course, it was made with data collected throughout the design phases as well as during the implementation phase. As regards the participants, you can see some data regarding their gender and occupation, and their studies. We made an evaluation analysis of identifying and describing explicit and implicit ideas, that is, themes in the data based on several criteria, participants' personal assessments, comments of the course's effectiveness compared to their needs and expectations. Participants became acquainted with the theory and practice of citizen science, Course for Cloud citizen observatories technologies, project goals, and ambitions. They realized common points of interest between citizen science and school-based environmental education through training materials, fellow trainers, the other Course for Cloud partners. They declared committed to take action in their schools and areas of responsibility, and they shared a culture of creativity, teamwork, collaboration, mutual support and recognition beyond the completion of the Cause for Cloud project. The structural elements of the success of the training course are the deliberate configuration of the diverse groups of learners from different backgrounds, the provision of many opportunities to participate in online discussion forums, the organization of several collaboration and coaching sessions held in groups and/or plenary sessions, the delivery of dedicated webinars to familiarize them with the use of citizen observatories platforms and tools, the promotion of collaborative practice-based learning through the co-design of educational scenarios and activities, the co-design of educational scenarios aligned with the objectives of the online training course and the Cause for Cloud project, the emphasis on the direct transfer and adaptations of the acquired knowledge to school practice. In conclusion, we could argue that we identified a quite positive stance of the participants towards the online course and their satisfaction with the provided training, motivation to participate and support further actions in schools, and as important assets, we could identify the interdisciplinarity, communication and collaboration, the use of technologies, and practice-based learning. These are the references of our presentation. And so we would like to thank you very much for your attention.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. My name is George Potamias, and along with my colleague Dimitrios Godzos, we are going to present you our research with the title The Multidimensional Role of the Environmental Education Officers in Primary and Secondary Education. It will be focused on the case study of the Environmental Education Office of the Athens Second Directorate of Primary Education. First of all, we should start with some theoretical clarifications concerning the nature of the office's work. First of all, we should clarify that there is a difference between administrational and organizational work. In order to implement its organizational scheme, the office has to differentiate its purpose from the factors that affect it in order to define and structure its own behavior, its own nature. Now, the Environmental Education Office of North Athens coordinates a variety of environmental education programs and promotes activities for sustainability. It coordinates 195 units of preschool education and 159 units of primary schools. Now, what is the policy, what is the philosophy of the office? It coordinates the management of any given pedagogical and organizational role focused on both the challenges of the digital era and also on the human relations issue, which is very, very important for its work. Now, there are a lot of difficulties and frustrations of the educators, mainly due to the lack of teaching time, the lack of knowledge of teaching methodology, and also various reasons concerning the implementation of their work as educators. Now, what are the particularities of each school concerning the implementation of innovations? The biggest factors are culture, the homogeneity of the student population, the stability of the teaching staff, and the teachers' age and qualifications. Now we should also clarify what are the characteristics of an ideal innovative leader in order to see if these are implemented in the office. Now, an ideal innovative leader should be focused on learning and visioning through the use of ICT and continuous evaluation. It should provide equitable opportunities through equipment and technical support for all staff, and also through providing training seminars on the use of ICT. It should promote adventurous learning through open and positive attitude to innovation, and also through giving substantial investment in ICT use. It should also facilitate patient teaching through personal involvement in teacher training, and also through the avoidance of audit type evaluations. He or she should also protect the inclusion of all community members, protect teachers' work in and out of school, and also involve parents. Last but not least, he should facilitate careful challenging through the careful introduction of innovations and through teacher training based on the principles of an open school. Now, how is the administrative and organizational work of the Environmental Office of the Second Directorate of Athens circulated around? That is mainly through the World Wide Web, through the website of the Directorate of Primary Education of North Athens, through a dedicated website to the School Gardens of North Athens, through the website for the innovative activities for environmental education, and last but not least, through the digital repository of environmental education innovations. Now, how is the support and training work of the office promoted through innovation? That is through this scheme, through guidance, through information management and utilization of it, last but not least, through decision making and implementation. These factors all together affect each other. Now, last but not least, concerning our theoretical context, there is a connection with external institutions like environmental education centers that provide training seminars for teachers, through given thematic networks of environmental education, and also through school visits to environmental education centers and participation in educational programs. There are also local government organizations, and last but not least, environmental non-governmental organizations that provide educational programs and teacher training seminars. Now, my colleague Dimitris Godzos will continue the presentation of our research. Thank you very much.
Good afternoon, I'm Dimitris Godzos and I'm going to continue our presentation. So, as regards the support and training work of the environmental education officer, and in particular information management and utilization, we have created a blog entitled Environmental Educational Innovations, where one can find information for the action planned by the school units. It is also a kind of digital repository for the environmental education programs material, a guide for good practices. It can also provide connection of teachers from different schools promote inter-school collaborations, and also it could be the first step for the creation of a teachers' online community. As regards the decision making and implementation, the environmental education officer should be an innovator or a reformer who identifies opportunities, designs, proposes, promotes, oversees changes, manages problems, finds and allocates resources, and negotiates with the external environment. And all these come together in the provision of support for environmental education programs. So the environmental education officer has to organize and enrich the library of the environmental education office. It also, he or she should help teachers connect with the various environmental education thematic networks which are coordinated by environmental education centers and other bodies throughout the country. He or she should provide educational material to teachers and of course give them the appropriate training opportunities. As regards the design and implementation of our training seminars and meetings, these should aim at the modernization of their pedagogical knowledge and strategies, the renewal of the teaching content, and the provision of constant support. The thematic areas of these training seminars are based on teachers' training needs, as these are extracted from self-evaluation forms and the type of submitted programs as it emerges from the detailed analysis of the data of the programs that teachers submit every school year. These training seminars and meetings are optional and last in average 3 to 4 teaching hours. The design and implementation of our training seminars and meetings should promote authentic learning as well as experiential, constructivist and transformative learning. They are multi-methodological. They promote participatory decision making in their design and development. They have to be locally relevant and culturally appropriate. They should interconnect local to global. They could be interdisciplinary, cross-disciplinary, and holistic approaches to knowledge, and they should promote core values and ethics. As regards the type of the training events, some of them are introductory, general methodology of environmental education programs. Some of them are co-organized with the environmental education centers. Some of them are specific thematic, that is, they focus on specific themes like water or climate change. They promote a multidisciplinary approach to learning. Some of them are specifically about the International Thematic Network Learning About Forests that is coordinated which is coordinated by our office. Some are in collaboration with school counselors or with NGOs or with the health education and cultural affairs officers of our directorate. In most of them, we promote the use of ICT tools, as well the use of art, that is theatrical play, visual arts, or audiovisual material as tools for promoting environmental education, and we have also some workshops presenting good practices that emerge from teachers' programs. Also, we inform teachers about other activities through our blog entitled Innovative Activities for Environmental Education, whereas one could find information about other training activities, conferences, educational programs, or exhibitions, and so forth. One activity that we would like to mention is the adoption of principles of the Earth Charter Initiative that has been introduced in collaboration with the Earth Charter Hellas initiative, which is coordinated by the Department of Primary Education of the University of Crete under the direction of Professor Nelly Kostoulas. So in conclusion, we could argue that the environmental education officer's task is a multidimensional one, as it has an administrative, training, support, and organizational role and task in difficult circumstances, as there is a very large number of school units that implement environmental education programs every school year. There is a lack of secretarial support and a lack of funding opportunities for the programs, and our reports are based on our personal reflection, as well as record of teachers' views and contemporary literature. These are the references of our presentation, and at this point we would like to thank you very much for your attention.
Καλησπέρα σας. Ονομάζομαι Σοφία Κανταράκη και είμαι φιλόλογος στο Πρότυπο Γυμνάσιο Βόλου. Η εισήγησή μου αφορά στη διερεύνηση της ιστορικής ενσυναίσθησης μαθητών-μαθητριών μέσα από τον έντυπο τύπο ως προαγωγή της αειφορίας. Η εργασία στοχεύει να αναδείξει την επίδραση του έντυπου τύπου στην ανάπτυξη και καλλιέργεια της ιστορικής ενσυναίσθησης προς τους μαθητές, ως καλή πρακτική, αλλά και ως μια προσπάθεια επικουρικής ενδυνάμωσής τους στη μελέτη της ιστορίας. Βασικό ζητούμενο είναι να διαφανεί αν ο τύπος ως πηγή μπορεί να συμβάλλει σε παραγωγική σκέψη μέσω διανοητικής αναβίωσης των γεγονότων, ενεργοποιώντας την παραδοχή πως οι αρχές της αειφορίας μπορούν να μετατραπούν σε διδάξιμη γνώση. Αναγνωρίζοντας την αξία της ενσωμάτωσης των αρχών της αειφορίας στην εκπαιδευτική πράξη, θεωρούμε ότι η έρευνα αυτή μπορεί να τροφοδοτήσει πρακτικές που προσδίδουν μαθητοκεντρικό και κοινωνικό προσανατολισμό στη διδασκαλία. Κάνοντας την οθόνη μου, Ωραία. Η έρευνα διεξήχθη σε μαθητές-μαθήτριες της δευτεροβάθμιας εκπαίδευσης σε σχολείο του αστικού ιστού. Ως μεθοδολογικό εργαλείο χρησιμοποιήσαμε το ερωτηματολόγιο στο πλαίσιο ποιοτικής ανάλυσης έρευνας με ερωτήσεις ανοιχτού τύπου. Τα πρωτογενή δεδομένα που προέκυψαν από το ερωτηματολόγιο αποτέλεσαν αντικείμενο επεξεργασίας με το μεθοδολογικό εργαλείο της ανάλυσης περιεχομένου, μέσω της οποίας προέκυψαν οι κατηγορίες δεδομένων και στοιχείων και οι μεταξύ τους συσχετισμοί. Οι μαθητές κλήθηκαν μέσα από την ανάγνωση εφημερίδων εποχής σε συγκεκριμένο ιστορικό θέμα ως άσκηση ενσυναισθητικού περιεχομένου και λογικής κατανόησης να προσεγγίσουν τα ιστορικά γεγονότα χωρίς απαραίτητα να τα αποδεχθούν και να περιγράψουν τις προοπτικές τους. Η αξιολόγηση της ιστορικής ενσυναίσθησης με βάση την αρθρογραφία των εφημερίδων μέσω επιλογής συγκεκριμένων αποσπασμάτων είναι φυσικά ενδεικτική. Η ανάλυση των απαντήσεων των μαθητών επικεντρώθηκε σε πτυχές της ιστορικής ενσυναίσθησης, δηλαδή ιστορική διαμόρφωση, λογική κατανόηση, αλλά και συναισθηματικά στοιχεία. Ζητούμενο λοιπόν είναι η εξακρίβωση της σύνδεσης της συμβολής του έντυπου τύπου με την ιστορική ενσυναίσθηση ως συνδετική γέφυρα προσέγγισης ιστορικής γνώσης, κατανόησης και συνείδησης σε ένα πλαίσιο ενεργοποίησης των αρχών της αειφορίας. Περί της ερμηνείας της αξίας αλλά και της συμβολής της ενσυναίσθησης στη διδασκαλία έχουν ήδη κατατεθεί για το θέμα αρκετές ερευνητικές μελέτες που συνεισέφεραν τα μέγιστα στις προοπτικές και προεκτάσεις της στην εκπαίδευση. Οπότε θα αναφερθούμε αδρομερώς και με γενικές επισημάνσεις σχετικά με την αξία της ενσυναίσθησης. Με τη μέθοδο αναφέραμε ότι χρησιμοποιήσαμε ερωτηματολόγιο σε μαθητές με ερωτήσεις ανοιχτού τύπου, επεξεργαστήκαμε τα πρωτογενή δεδομένα και αναλύσαμε τις κατηγορίες αυτών των δεδομένων και των στοιχείων, αλλά και τους μεταξύ τους συσχετισμούς. Η εκπαίδευση για την αειφόρο ανάπτυξη μπορεί να ενεργοποιήσει νέες πρακτικές και μεθόδους που θα επιτρέπουν στον εκπαιδευτικό να παραγάγει και να διαχέει στην τάξη καινοτόμες και ευέλικτες διδακτικές δραστηριότητες για την επίτευξη των στόχων της αειφορίας, συνδέοντάς τις με θεματικές περιοχές που διδάσκει, όπως την ιστορία. Και να περάσουμε στην προετοιμασία των μαθητών. Αρχικά η εκπαιδευτικός με βάση την παιδαγωγική αρχή της αφόρμησης παρουσίασε στο εργαστήριο πληροφορικής σε μια ολιγόλεπτη εισήγηση με τη χρήση λογισμικού παρουσίασης και βιντεοπροβολέα δομικά στοιχεία των ιστορικών γεγονότων της περίοδου με επιλεγμένες φωτογραφίες και χάρτες από την εξέλιξη του Μικρασιατικού πολέμου. Καθοριστική σημασία θεωρούμε το επετειακό έτος 2022 από την Μικρασιατική καταστροφή, για την οποία κάποιοι μαθητές έχουν εικόνα από προσωπικά ακούσματα από το οικογενειακό τους περιβάλλον ή διατηρούν ως κληρονομική παρακαταθήκη με αντικείμενα συγγενών τους. Επιπρόσθετα, οι καταθέσεις τους στην ολομέλεια της τάξης συνέβαλαν στην ανάπτυξη ενός διαλόγου. Παράλληλα, παρουσιάστηκαν και συζητήθηκαν τα αίτια της εκστρατείας, τα γεγονότα, πολύ συνοπτικά, αλλά και τα αποτελέσματα, χωρίς αναλυτικές λεπτομέρειες, ώστε οι μαθητές να γνωρίσουν το ιστορικό πλαίσιο πριν αρχίσουν την αναζήτηση ειδικότερων πληροφοριών στις εφημερίδες. Στον πίνακα η εκπαιδευτικός σημείωσε βασικούς ιστορικούς όρους της ενότητας, επεξηγώντας και αναλύοντας παράλληλα τη σημασία τους. Ακολούθησε σχετική αναφορά και συζήτηση για τις αρχές της αειφορίας και τη διασύνδεσή της με την ενσυναίσθηση. Το δείγμα για την παρούσα έρευνα αποτέλεσε σύνολο μαθητών της τρίτης τάξης γυμνασίου. Ο αριθμός των 51 μαθητών μπορεί να θεωρηθεί επαρκής μαθητικός πληθυσμός, ώστε να αποτελέσει αξιόπιστο δείγμα. Η έρευνα διεξήχθη το δεύτερο τετράμινο του σχολικού έτους 2021-2022 σε σχολείο του αστικού ιστού. Καθ' όλη τη διάρκεια της έρευνας δεν τηρήθηκε ανωνυμία, καθώς το θέμα συζητήθηκε ανοιχτά στην ολομέλεια της τάξης. Σκοπός λοιπόν της έρευνας είναι να συλλεχθούν και να διερευνηθούν οι απόψεις μαθητών σχετικά με τον τρόπο πρόσληψης και κατανόησης των γεγονότων της Μικρασιατικής καταστροφής και των συνεπειών της μέσα από αποσπάσματα εφημερίδων του τύπου της εποχής εκείνης. Για τις ανάγκες λοιπόν χρησιμοποιήσαμε το ερωτηματολόγιο στο πλαίσιο ποιοτικής ανάλυσης έρευνας. Οι ερωτήσεις αυτές, ειδικά ανοιχτού τύπου, επιτρέπουν να συλλέγονται απαντήσεις στη φυσική γλώσσα των ερωτώμενων, Τα ερωτηματολόγια αυτά χρησιμοποιούνται σε συνδυασμό με άλλες μεθόδους για τη διεξαγωγή της έρευνας. Τα πρωτογενή δεδομένα που προέκυψαν από το ερωτηματολόγιο αποτέλεσαν αντικείμενο επεξεργασίας. Άλλωστε, στην έρευνα η ανάλυση περιεχομένου κατέχει τη μεγαλύτερη βαρύτητα, καθώς βασικός σκοπός της είναι να πάρει ένα λεκτικό, συμβολικό, μη ποσοτικό ντοκουμέντο μιας κοινωνίας ή μιας κουλτούρας και να το μετασχηματίσει σε ποιοτικά και ποσοτικά δεδομένα. Ο τρόπος διεξαγωγής έδωσε στα παιδιά τη δυνατότητα να απαντήσουν όσο πιο ελεύθερα γινόταν. Η εν λόγω πρακτική μπορεί να επιφέρει βελτίωση τόσο στην ίδια την πρακτική, αλλά και στην κατανόησή της, αλλά και στην κατάσταση μέσα στην οποία ασκείται. Ο λόγος για την έρευνα δράσης με τη μορφή αναστοχαστικής διερεύνησης ως μέθοδο βελτίωσης καθημερινής πρακτικής που ασκεί ευεργετική επίδραση στα εμπλεκόμενα με την εκπαιδευτική πράξη πρόσωπα. Στο πλαίσιο της έρευνας δράσης, ο εκπαιδευτικός και οι μαθητές συμμετέχουν ως ισότιμοι συνεργάτες και συνερευνητές, στοχάζονται και αναστοχάζονται σχετικά με τις στρατηγικές μάθησης. Όσον αφορά το ερωτηματολόγιο, οι ερωτήσεις λοιπόν που δόθηκαν είναι οι εξής. Ποια συναισθήματα σου προκαλεί ο τίτλος του ρεπορτάζ? Φαντάσου ότι είσαι στη θέση των προσφύγων της Μύρνης, όπως περιγράφει ο συντάκτης του άρθρου. Πώς αυτό σε κάνει να νιώθεις? Στο υλικό που σας δόθηκε αναφέρεται ότι οι Κεμαλικοί προέβησαν σε φρικώδεις ομότητες. Για ποιους λόγους πιστεύετε ότι το έκαναν αυτό? Σας προβληματίζει κάτι στις αναφορές των εφημερίδων για τη στάση των ξένων απέναντι σε γεγονότα? Τεκμηριώστε την απάντησή σας. Πιστεύεις ότι ο τρόπος που προσεγγίσαμε το θέμα αυτό σε βοήθησε να το μελετήσεις και να το κατανοήσεις καλύτερα? Αιτιολόγησε την απάντησή σου. Αποτελέσματα. Οι απαντήσεις των μαθητών στο ερωτηματολόγιο καταγράφτηκαν ώστε να προωθεί με ακρίβεια ό,τι είχαν πει οι ερωτηθέντες. Με τη μέθοδο της θεματικής ανάλυσης ακολούθησε η καταγραφή, καταμέτρηση και κωδικοποίηση των απαντήσεων. Στην ποιοτική αυτή προσέγγιση επιδιώκεται η σε βάθος διερεύνηση απόψεων και εμπειριών συγκεκριμένων ατόμων αναφορικά με κάποιο φαινόμενο, με σκοπό το αποτέλεσμα που θα προκύψει να μπορούν οι ερευνητές να το επεξεργαστούν. Και να δούμε λίγο κάποιες ενδεικτικές απαντήσεις που έδωσαν οι μαθητές. Για παράδειγμα, στην πρώτη ερώτηση, ποια συναισθήματα σου προκαλεί ο τίτλος στο ρεπορτάζ? Απάντησαν φρίκη, συγκίνηση, απελπισία, ήκτο, φόβο, αγωνία, αηδία, αδικία, συμπόνια, δυσαρέσκεια, αλλά και μίσος. Σε μια άλλη ερώτηση, φαντάσου ότι είσαι στη θέση των προσφύγων της Μύρνης, όπως περιγράφουν οι συντάκτες των άρθρων. Πώς αυτό σε κάνει να νιώθεις? Οι απαντήσεις: φόβος, άγχος, αγωνία, ανησυχία, πανικό, τρόμο, απελπισία, ανασφάλεια, θλίψη, αναχώρια, αδικία, λύπη, μίσος. Να επισημάνουμε ότι η συγκεκριμένη δράση έρευνα λειτουργήσε και ως άσκηση ενσυναισθητικού περιεχομένου, προκειμένου να διαφανεί ή όχι η επίδραση του τύπου ως πρόσθετη και συνεπικουρική ιστορική πηγή. Είναι γενικά αποδεκτό ότι η διδασκαλία και η εξέταση της ενσυναίσθησης βασίζονται σε περιορισμένη έρευνα και πρακτική εμπειρία και το να ενσυναισθάνεται κανείς ενδεχομένως να ισοδυναμεί με το να φαντάζεται προσπαθώντας να εισχωρήσει σε μια εμπειρία του παρελθόντος. Αναρωτιέται λοιπόν κανείς αν το περιβάλλον μιας εφημερίδας μπορεί να ωφελήσει γνωστικά, παιδαγωγικά και συναισθητικά τους μαθητές και αν τους βοηθά να αποκτούν κρίση στο πλαίσιο των αρχών της αειφορίας. Αλληλεγγύη, ακεραιότητα, δικαιοσύνη, ανεκτικότητα, δημοκρατία για το κοινωνικό περιβάλλον. Διαφάνηκε λοιπόν μέσα από την έρευνα αυτή μία κλίση των μαθητών προς τη συναισθηματική ταύτιση με τα γεγονότα και μία απόπειρα κατανόησης των συναισθημάτων, σκέψεων και δράσεων και ερμηνείας τους, λαμβάνοντας υπόψη το ιστορικό συγκείμενό τους. Η πλειονότητα των μαθητών εκφράστηκε με αρνητικά συναισθήματα απέναντι στις περιγραφές των εφημερίδων για τα τεκτενόμενα. Αντιλήφθηκε βαθμιαία τον δράμα των ανθρώπων του Μικρασιατικού πολέμου μέσω της διαδικασίας της λογικής κατανόησης. Ήρθαν κοντά στο παρελθόν, το άγγιξαν, το ερεύνησαν, το κατανόησαν και κυρίως το συσχέτισαν με τον σύγχρονο κόσμο. Υπήρξε ωστόσο μια προφανής δυσκολία στη γλωσσική εξομάλυνση των αποσπασμάτων λόγω της καθαρεύουσας των εφημερίδων της εποχής, η οποία επιβράδυνε σχετικά τη διαδικασία. Γενικά, Οι απαντήσεις των μαθητών παρουσίασαν ένα μεγάλο ενδιαφέρον και σε συγκεκριμένες ερωτήσεις. Για παράδειγμα, αναφορικά με τα κίνητρα των κεμαλικών για τις σφαγές, οι οποίες καταδεικνύουν στην πλειονότητά τους μια στάση ηθελημένης αποχής των μαθητών απέναντι σε αυτό που διάβασαν. Συμπερασματικά, σύμφωνα με το μοντέλο των σταδίων ενσυναίσθησης, στο οποίο καταλήγουν με βάση τις έρευνές τους οι Dickinson, Lee και Ashby, καταλήγουμε στο ότι μέσα από τη μελέτη των εφημερίδων, οι μαθητές ανέπτυξαν μια μορφή εξελιγμένης ιστορικής ενσυναίσθησης, καθώς οι απαντήσεις τους κατέδειξαν ότι θεμελιώνονται με ιστορικούς όρους σε σχέση με το ευρύτερο ιστορικό πλαίσιο. Διαπιστώθηκε μια ακολουθία με τις αρχές της αειφορίας στο πλαίσιο της κοινωνικής ενίδησης και της συνυπευθυνότητας με τα γεγονότα, έτσι ώστε να ασφυλατούνται νέες συμπεριφορές. Η ιστορική συναίσθηση καλλιεργήθηκε μέσα από τον τύπο ως εφόδιο για μια βιώσιμη κοινωνική εξέλιξη. Στις πράξεις των ανδρών των προσώπων αναγνώρισαν υπονοούμενους σκοπούς, θέτοντας τους εαυτούς τους σε παρόμοιο ιστορικό γίγνεσθε. Άλλωστε, ζητούμενο δεν ήταν να διαφανεί η ποιοτική, η ποσοτική διάσταση των γνώσεών τους ή το επίπεδο νοημοσύνης τους, αλλά η σταδιακή διερεύνηση της αντιληπτικής τους ικανότητας, η ενσυναίσθηση ως λογική κατανόηση των γεγονότων μέσα από το επικοινωνιακό περιβάλλον του τύπου. Σας ευχαριστώ πολύ.
Hello, my name is Bodzaki Eleni, and on behalf of the rest of the group, I will present you the study entitled The Development of a Digital Teaching Scenario on Climate Change for Blended Learning Environments. In recent years, the pandemic has influenced humanity and changed citizens' daily lives on different levels. The new conditions also formed new needs in the field of education. These needs hastened the conversion of courses format to an online one, a trend that had already begun in previous years. In terms of STEM education, which aims to the development of scientific process skills and problem-solving strategies, the digital conversion of traditional STEM courses seems to be quite demanding, because these courses consist of inquiry-based and hands-on activities, which usually take place in face-to-face instruction with the use of special equipment. So, one approach to forming STEM lessons that can support the integration of digital environments is that of blended learning. According to Margoliouth, blended learning is the result of the combination of two criteria. The first criterion is delivery medium, which defines the way that the instruction takes place and can be either via the instructor, like a lecture, or via technology, like a video lecture. The content is the same, but the medium is different. The second criterion is the instruction type, in which students are receiving content, like an educational video, or applying content, like the processing of a simulation of a phenomenon. From the combination of these criteria, Margoliouth ends up with three types of blended learning: flip blend, supplemental blend, and replacement blend. The present study is part of the Erasmus Plus project, STEM Digitalis, in which 5 European universities participate, namely University of Crete as coordinator, University of Hanover, Tallinn University, Dublin City University, and University of Groningen. The aim of the project is the development of blended learning environments for teaching advanced STEM topics to prospective science teachers. Each of the partner universities has focused on a specific STEM topic to develop one digital teaching scenario by using a variety of digital tools and forms of digitalization. The Science Teaching Laboratory of the Department of Primary Education of the University of Crete chose climate change as an advanced STEM topic. Climate change is chosen because it is one of the most important environmental and planetary issues of the last decades, with consequences for all ecosystems and by extension humanity. So we have to mitigate this phenomenon maybe with the adoption of key policies, the active action of the citizens, and some advances in science education. All of these are useful in mitigation because they will contribute to the formation of people's habits and the structure of society towards climate neutrality. The incorporation of climate change in STEM curriculum seems to be necessary in order to equip students with the required knowledge and skills to be able to make informed decisions and take informed sociopolitical actions. For a student, citizens to take action and participate in discussions, they need to understand the phenomenon of climate change. So, from an educational viewpoint, the fundamental concepts of climate change are carbon cycle and greenhouse effect, different types of radiation, interaction of gases with radiation, composition of atmosphere, climate and weather, feedback and energy. We focused on the first one, carbon cycle and greenhouse effect. So we developed a digital teaching scenario which consists of 3 sections. The first section aims at interpreting the correlation between temperature and carbon dioxide rise and the role of this correlation in climate change. The principal digital tools of this section were an educational game, an interactive video, and interactive graphs. The game has been created with the Unity 3D tool. The main character of the game travels through 4 different unknown decays to discover the aforementioned correlation. His mission is to recognize the decade that he has traveled up. In order to do so from each decade, he collects data about the temperature and the carbon dioxide concentration that will help him to form his conclusion about the decade that he has visited. Interactive video and graphs which are embedded in the game help with the collection of data and the formation of conclusions. More specifically, the interactive video presents the conduction of an experiment that was carried out in the lab and video recorded. The video has integrated interactive elements such as hotspots, questions, notes, which follow the principles of the inquiry approach. In particular, there are questions for predicting the outcome of the experiment, observing the experimental process, interpreting data, and etc. The interactive graphs, which are based on real data, refer to the temperature rise and the carbon dioxide concentration rise. The graphs are supposed to support students in forming their conclusions regarding the correlation between the variables under examination. This graph is about temperature per year from 1977 to 2020. This graph is about carbon dioxide concentration per year from 1958 to 2021. All the 3 aforementioned tools support students' individual work, and therefore, in a blended learning course, they could be part of the Applying Content via Technology section. The second section is related to anthropogenic activities and how they contribute to climate change. For the purposes of this section, an application was created for mobile devices, such as smartphones and tablets, which is called Carbon Digitalis. With the support of this application, users can calculate their carbon footprint resulting from their daily transportation and their household activities. Subsequently, students are also asked to calculate their footprint in case of using renewable energy sources for the aforementioned activities. The purpose is for students to realize the difference in the amount of carbon dioxide that is released into the atmosphere in the case of using fossil fuels and renewable energy sources to cover their energy needs. In this section, the activities could be part of applying content via technology and receiving content via instructor. The third section, dealing with the socio-scientific issues related to climate change, takes the form of a treasure hunt. Students are asked to form an opinion on whether lignite plants should be closed and replaced with wind farms. To be able to form their own opinion, they are invited to study the role of various stakeholders that are involved in this issue, such as the European Union, residents, non-governmental organizations, companies, etc. To support this activity, a mobile augmented reality application was used to organize the treasure hunt. There are pictures and QR codes. Each picture corresponds to a particular stakeholder and is placed at a specific point in a predefined space. When the students approach this point, they scan the picture and the information regarding each stakeholder's interests and use appears. Afterward, students are called to form their own opinion on whether lignite plants should be closed and replaced with wind farms. This section could be formed based on replacement blend because the activities have the potential to be receiving or applying content via instructor and technology. The digital teaching scenarios of the partners were implemented in the context of an international summer school which took place in Crete this summer. In the implementation, 25 prospective science teachers participated, 5 from each university partner. Each module lasted 6 hours. So, the following year, after the implementation of the digital teaching scenarios in the context of the International Summer School and the online seminars, strategies and guidelines for teaching advanced STEM topics in blended learning environments will be formed. Now we can see the references. Here you can scan the QR code if you need more information about the project. Thank you very much.
This is Pega Zamani, and I'd like to thank you for the invitation and the opportunity to represent my university and the RC Greater Atlanta. I am joining you today from the southeast region of the United States, Metro Atlanta, a region in a forest with a temperate climate, a rapidly growing, diversifying population, and a vibrant economy. Atlanta is the birthplace of Martin Luther King, the civil rights movement, and multiple sustainable development initiatives. Yet, the region holds one of the most significant racialized wealth gaps in the states, with many Black residents living below the poverty line. The region encapsulates one of the highest concentrations of higher educational institutions in the states, with world-class universities and the most historically Black colleges. To offer context here, as a case, Kennesaw State University is one of the nation's 50 largest public institutions, with 13 colleges offering more than 150 degrees in undergraduate, graduate, and doctoral level to more than 35,000 students from the region and 92 countries across the globe. The institution is located on over 600 acres spread across 2 campuses, consisting of more than 130.
Good morning, all professors and doctors. This presentation titled Refugee Teaching in Egypt, Monitoring the Reality and the Future Needs Through the RITCAM Project in Zagazig University. In fact, this presentation is more than a paper or study. It's a life journey, took about 3 years. The beginning was the Global Education Monitoring Report from UNESCO. The report stated that the number of school-aged migrant and refugee children has grown significantly over the past few years by 26%. And the total migrant and refugee children could fill 500,000 classrooms. According to the UNESCO report, there is insufficient progress on including migrant and refugee in the national education systems. In fact, the total population of refugees all over the world is 28 millions. In Egypt, and according to the registered number within UNHCR, the number increased from 95,000 in 2011 approximately up to about 250,000 refugees in Egypt. Subsequently, from those data, this problem arose. There were not studies or researches about the education of refugees and immigrants in Egypt. And the following main question arose. What is the reality of refugee education in Egypt between the theory and practice? And from this question, the following sub-question emerged. What is the reality of refugee students enrolling in the national education system in Egypt? What is the availability of training programs for the refugee teachers in Egypt? What are the challenges for refugee education in Egypt? And finally, the important question, what is the role of Egyptian university, especially Zagazig University, in refugee teaching? The aim of this study is to monitoring the reality of refugee education and determining the current and the future needs through the REFTSL project in Zagazig University. We achieve this aim through the following methods. Descriptive approach was used by application a numbers of interviews, questionnaires, and training workshops. Monitoring the reality of refugee teaching in Egypt carried out by application of qualitative and quantitative surveys for the refugee teachers, for the school principal, for the faculty staff members in Faculty of Education, and for the Faculty of Education students. In fact, this is one complementary and closed cycle. Interview with the school principal and district managers. We did interviews with 11 educational managers in 10th of Ramadan city and in Sharqiya governorate. The question of the interview were about the number of refugee students registered in your district and schools, positive and negative experience with dealing with the refugee students, the cooperation and limit of cooperation with the parent of refugee, and if there is a special mentorship system for refugee students. Qualitative survey for the public school teacher. We visit many schools which merged refugee students with the Egyptian ones. Interview and the quantitative survey for the public school teachers was achieved for 65 teachers from 4 public schools. The questionnaire formed from 83 questions divided into 4 folds related to the integration role of the teacher, the ability to deal with the refugee, and the ability to learn new teaching methodologies, the different problems and the challenges facing refugee children. In fact, we carried out 2 workshops in Zagazig University for the Egyptian refugee teacher to participate in SWOT analysis for the public school refugee for the public school merging refugees. Moreover, we carried out 2 workshops organized in Zagazig or by Zagazig University for the Syrian teachers. The SWOT analysis for the Faculty of Education staff members, we did interviews and met with 30 staff members from the Faculty of Education, represents all the department, all the 5 departments of the faculty. And the quantitative survey for the students of the Faculty of Education was done by a questionnaire with 67 questions. This questionnaire or this survey was carried out for 323 students from grade 1 and grade 4 in the Faculty of Education. And now, this step of our journey within the refugee teaching is the result and discussion. The result of interview with the school principals and district managers revealed the following numbers. There are about 2,000 Syrian students distributed in about 49 schools in tens of Ramadan city. This result, in fact, agreed with that stated recently in 2022 by UNHCR in Egypt, that refugee children from South Sudan, Syria, and Yemen are fortunate to be granted access to education in public school on the same footing as Egyptians. The result of the interview with the school principal showed also that the most challenges was the absence of Syrian students from the public school at the beginning of school years to go to the Syrian Education Center. But after that, students come regularly to the public school to participate in activities with the Egyptian students and to obtain the score of activities. In general, teachers in schools of 10th of Ramadan city don't differentiate between both Syrian and Egyptian students. There is instruction to teachers and the school principal to merge and containment of the Syrian students with the Egyptian one. The most positive experience for the school principal was that many Syrian students are talented and participate in school show. The quantitative survey for the public school teachers. Results showed that 45% of the teachers need to increase their knowledge and the skills to deal with psychological, emotional, social needs of refugees. Also to increase their knowledge to meet the refugee needs after exposure to shock. Furthermore, to increase their skills needed to enhance cultural competencies. The most important points of SWOT analysis for the refugee teachers are: there is no specific curriculum about refugee in general, a lack of training program for teachers, and insufficient information about training need analysis for refugee teaching. The result of meeting with the Syrian, Sudanese, Yemen refugee teachers revealed that they need to increase their knowledge and skills in cultural diversity, using technology in education, innovative teaching methodology, and dealing with students with special needs. The result showed that also there are many community educational centers for refugee students, as Syrian Educational Center, Sudanese Educational Center, and Yemen Educational Center here in Egypt. The SWOT analysis for Faculty of Education staff member, the main strengths point were that the faculty administration aims to provide the best educational service for refugee students, and the faculty management deal flexibility with the refugee students. But the main weakness point were lack of training on technology or on technological tools as a smart board, for an example, and the refugee teachers are not invited to attend the research seminars at the Faculty of Education, lack of training course for the teacher about dealing with refugee students, and no academic advisors from the Faculty of Education are assigned to support the schools that contain the refugee students. The quantitative survey for students of Faculty of Education, the result showed that 44 to 84% of the students need to increase the knowledge and the skills about the psychological, emotional, and social needs of the refugee, and to increase their knowledge to meet the refugee needs after exposure to shocks. And now, after finishing the result, in the light of these results, qualitative and quantitative analysis from refugee teachers, school principal, faculty student, and faculty staff member, we developed a training program for non-educational refugee teachers. We developed a diploma for educational qualified teacher. We deconstruct and reconstruction of 11 pre-surface courses for the students of Faculty of Education, and finally we conducting TOT program for the staff members, and we establish a ICT blended learning lab. In fact, we are now in this lab in Zagazig University using the technological tools purchased to learn the teachers how to deal with the technological tools and to conduct online training courses for them. The training program for non-educational teachers included 10 innovative courses, 35 refugee teachers from 5 nationalities. And now, let us listen to an opinion from some of refugee teachers from different nationalities.
My name is Hussein, and I'm from Yemen. I came here to express my gratitude for having such an amazing opportunity that allowed me to gain advanced teaching skills from Refugee Teaching Certification Program, which was designed for teaching non-qualified teachers and conducted by Zagazig University. My major is agricultural science, and I know it is far away from teaching, but I have passionate experience in teaching English language since I was in Yemen in 2017. During the program, I was exposed to learn from very professional doctors who were dedicating their time to pass their experience and teach multiple courses of the program, including leadership, educational technology and blended learning, psychological and social challenges for refugees, and cross-cultural and diversity and active citizenship, and much, much more that I really enjoyed throughout the courses. From here, I would like to thank all the doctors for their time and their effort as well. And also, I want to recommend the new selectees that have been selected by the committee for this program to take advantage of every second in attendance. And in the end, you will find that it is worth it. Thank you.
Thank you for Hussein from Yemen. And now, listen to another teacher. This is Huzaifa from Syria. He expressed his happiness to join non-educational qualified program He talks about the global education and ECD course and the course of difficulties of refugee children. he talks about the different nationalities who joined the training from Sudanese, Yemen, Syria, and of course the Egyptian teachers. Thank you, Huzaifa. And now, Isra, an Egyptian teacher, she said that she graduated from the training program for non-qualified educational teachers. She learned how to deal with the different culture, talk about the psychological need and psychological health for the refugee. Different between teaching and learning. Citizenship. Innovative teaching methodologies for students of special needs. There are many things that I want to learn to help the refugee students. Yes, this is a very good program, training program. And finally, with Ibtsam from Sudan. Teacher Hanem from Sudan. She get useful from the training program, complete useful from the program. She learned about effective citizenship, innovative teaching methodologies, and mental health and psychological health. She thanks the God for the good training, and she wants to repeat this training again, because the period of training was short, and she took only simple information. As she said, although the training period was 10 weeks. She thanks us for the training program. Thank you, Hanem. And now we listen to Hussein from Yemen, Huzaifa from Syria, Isra from Egypt, and Hanem from Sudan. And lastly, we say that everyone loses when the education of migrants and refugees is ignored. Education is the key to inclusion and cohesion. In fact, education and educators make the difference. Thank you very much.
This is Pega Zamani, and I'd like to thank you for the invitation and the opportunity to represent my university and the RC Greater Atlanta. I am joining you today from the southeast region of the United States, Metro Atlanta, a region in a forest with a temperate climate, a rapidly growing, diversifying population, and a vibrant economy. Atlanta is the birthplace of Martin Luther King, the civil rights movement, and multiple sustainable development initiatives. Yet, the region holds one of the most significant racialized wealth gaps in the states, with many Black residents living below the poverty line. The region encapsulates one of the highest concentrations of higher educational institutions in the states, with world-class universities, and the most historically Black colleges. To offer context here, as a case, Kennesaw State University is one of the nation's 50 largest public institutions, with 13 colleges offering more than 150 degrees in undergraduate, graduate, and doctoral level to more than 35,000 students from the region and 92 countries across the globe. The institution is located on over 600 acres spread across 2 campuses, consisting of more than 130 buildings and facilities for academics, operations, recreation, and residential living. We have several LEED certified buildings and overall many efforts to reduce our environmental impacts on the campus. We use the umbrella term community engagement to encapsulate how we connect with the larger community through a range of opportunities, including volunteering outreach. Community engagement and economic development have been critical components of our social commitment. In collaboration with different departments, such as admissions, financial aid, and campus housing, our campus care services offer support to the students dealing with homelessness, food insecurity, and so on. We have commissions to serve as an advisory body to promote our collaborative efforts in partnership with our provost, vice president for student affairs, and student clubs. The case is the Presidential Commission on Sustainability, which I have been involved as a member and the former chair, especially with the university application for the U.S. Department of Education Green Ribbon Schools. In 2020, KSU received a Green Ribbon recognition for its efforts and commitment to a healthy, safe, and sustainable learning environment. In terms of our research on sustainability, the faculty workload's balance of teaching and research has constantly been challenging in higher education institutions, including mine. Our campus offers opportunities for faculty and students to get involved in curricular, extracurricular programs on sustainability. Given our brief time, I'd like to focus here only on one case fostering such supports. Thanks to a sustainability faculty fellowship in 2017, I could maximize my research workload, focus on UN SDGs, and as part of that, I initiated the interdisciplinary annual Equinox Week. Established in March 2017, Equinox has evolved into a multi-institutional, multinational, and multi-generational platform committed to advocating UN SDGs and bringing together local, national, and international scholars, practitioners, industry partners, policymakers, and community partners. Throughout the years, the week's sponsored programs have been creating several informal multidisciplinary learning opportunities for our students. All the Equinox programs are free and open to the entire community with local, regional, national, and international participants. I'd like to mention that last year, we collaborated with the KSU Division of Global Affairs in marketing the Year of Greece. In fact, it was through this collaboration that I invited Dr. Vasilis to be the symposium keynote speaker, and which was wonderful to have him. As of January 2022, our over 170 RCEs worldwide have officially been acknowledged by the United Nations University. Among them, 8 are in the States and 1 in our region. The Equinox has been also one of the focus projects of the RCE Greater Atlanta, acknowledged by the United Nations University. I joined them in 2018 as one of the nominated steering committee members, and later as a member of its Higher Education Learning Community Action Group with faculty and students from several universities in the region, including KSU, Emory University, Georgia Tech, and Spelman College. RC Greater Atlanta is a network committed to influencing educational resources, focusing on equity and justice for sustainable development without displacement. We have different action groups focused on advancing a collaborative learning environment. Our members represent all sectors of community, business, government, and civil society. Here, I briefly refer to our three major goals based on our roadmap and governance guidelines that was developed in 2020. The RC network aims to advance SDG knowledge and action by building on our team knowledge, skills, and assets to work in collaboration with different sectors. Through youth leadership programs and youth network, we commit to preparing our students to be future leaders. And last but not least, we seek to model a collaborative community in a multiracial, intergenerational network. To conclude here, our roadmap reflects a local approach for centering the global SDGs as a framework to create an inclusive community and to connect our regional assets with our greatest needs and opportunities. In partnership with the RC Greater Atlanta universities, have focused on offering multi-sector programs to ensure supporting regional efforts and creating a model for collective impact, specifically by harnessing higher education capacity and knowledge. And of course, through such process, we see transforming the conventional disciplinary boundaries and empowering our youth to be change makers and to elevate grassroots voices in the region and beyond. Thank you for your attention.
Okay, ναι. Okay, so I would like to thank, first of all, Dr. Zamani for her very interesting presentation, which was about presenting her university as well as the RC Greater Atlanta, as well as all the other presenters who were dealing with different aspects of ESD. So now I would like to ask you if you have any questions or comments for the presentations you've heard. I know it's the last session, so maybe you are tired. But anyway, if there is anything you would like to ask or to comment, please.
I would like to say something.
Yes, please.
So shall I come?
Yeah.
I would like to come see this camera.
See your face, huh?
I want people to see my beautiful face.
Ah, okay.
I really liked the idea of having a representative from the refugee teachers that Dr. Islam showed us and shared with us, because this is a reality and it reflects the experience with refugees that we have in Egypt. And all what they said, it is apparent that it is coming from their minds and their hearts as well. So this was an excellent hint from Dr. Islam to show us on ground the achievements that we are achieving in Egypt to this effect. Also, when I talk about achievements, I would like to acknowledge the contribution and the efforts of Dr. Muhammad Farrag from 6th of October University. Previously, he was in the 6th of October University as the university got the official accreditation of the diploma. Hopefully all other universities will obtain the accreditation very soon. So thank you for your contribution, Dr. Muhammad Farrag, to this effect as well. I don't have specific questions. This was only a comment that I wanted to deliver. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Okay, thank you, Dr. Ramsey. So if there is no other questions or comments, I would like to close this session. And is there any? Okay. Because I can't see. No. Okay, yeah.
Okay, hello everyone. I just would like to mention something important about the RefTech project, our refugee teacher training program projects in Egypt, as now we are approaching the 4th year of the project, and a lot of work has been done regardless all the problems and the obstacles we faced in Egypt, and a lot of research also was out of this project, and a lot of field practices and field training and curricula reorienting to address refugee education, and a lot of capacity development trainings and programs happen in the 4 universities. This is too much work has been done and coordinated by Professor Makrakis from the perspective of the managing of the project, and Dr. Omar as a local coordinator. And this conference was just a piece of the entire process of the tremendous work that happened in this project. Of course, we faced a lot of challenges, but still we have to celebrate this achievement we did, and we have to acknowledge all these efforts has been done from all the Egyptian partners, those who already got the accreditation and the others who are coming soon to get it. Also, special thanks to Dr. Makrakis for his agility and flexibility and being aware of what is happening in Egypt in this bureaucratic things and settings and so on. I just want to say that at the end of this session and this conference, because they really deserve some acknowledgement, because they did a lot of work in a very, very hard circumstances in the Egyptian higher education system and Egyptian system in general. Thank you, and I hope you already got a lot of benefits as I got from this very, very interesting conference with all tremendous participants and experience and all these RCEs all over the world. And thank you very much.
Okay, thank you, Mohammed. Is there any other?
We will keep the videos on the drive, yes.
Yes, don't worry.
It's muted.
No, it's not mute.
I believe that he's muted. He's muted.
Yes.
Yeah, he's muted. Yeah.
He's muted here.
I was to unmute. I can't unmute.
Yes, but you tell him.
Huh?
Tell him.
So he might be speaking now.
Can you tell him maybe?
No,
Hello.
it's okay. Now he's unmuted.
Now he's unmuted.
Yeah.
Yes.
Please, we can hear you now.
Hello.
Yes, tell him.
Hello. Please, we would like to ask to listen to your question or comment.
Okay, do you hear me?
Yes, yes.
Okay, Professor Nelly, how are you? And I'd like to thank Professor Vasilius, Professor Omar, for giving me such this chance to express my heart words, because Dr. Omar acknowledged my effort. So I'd like to re-thank you all for this eminent conference, and I hope to have more conferences, inshallah, next. Thank you very much, and thank you for your trust, for giving me such chance to design and accredited the refugee diploma. Thank you a lot.
Okay, thank you very much. So, okay, so since there is no other, okay, please. Yeah.
Thank you very much, Professor Nelly. I have one request.
Okay, you need to come here.
Thank you very much, Professor Nelly. I have one request and one comment. Okay, first request, the session, which is in Greek language. So if you could kindly just tell us the topic, the title for that presentation, then at least, you know, we go home, we know we have actually listened to all the presentation.
Yeah. It's about historical empathy of students through newspapers in order to promote sustainability.
Okay, thank you very much. That sounds like
You're
a very
welcome.
interesting, the
Yeah.
historical through newspapers.
Yes.
To promote
She's a
sustainability.
historian, I mean, the presenter. So try to see how it's to be, I mean, to have empathy through history in order to promote sustainability.
Okay, thank you very much. And since this is the last session, I am taking the liberty, because with learning about SDG and EFS, it has taught us also to be gracious. So perhaps we can all join me to say thank you very much to Professor Vasilis Makrakis and Professor Nelly and the RCE CREET team. I know you, I can see that you have been all over the world in the last few weeks, but organizing this conference, I know, has been very challenging. And also it's a good strategy for us to get our papers written. Thank you very much for that. So that's it, just to say thank you, a big thank you.
Thank you also. Okay, thank you very much, Professor Munira. And I would like also to thank all the participants here, as well as the team of RC Crete and of University of Crete. And now I think the floor is to Vasilis to make the close. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We have reached the end of a 3 days conference. They were full days. It was very hectic time. And I have to thank again all the key speakers, the presenters, the audience, and of course, I have to thank Nelly for the support. I have to thank also the organizing supporting committee, Michael Michalis, Lisa Hakis, Nikos Darios, Marius Brousganis, George Bouzaksakis, Dina Pyrgiotaki. All these people have done a lot of work in order to support us to reach, finally in this 3-day conference. So thank you very much. Thank you all for your participation. And I hope that all this information and that have gone through these 3 days will be very instrumental and also very important as feedback to our own work. Thank you very much again, and hope